Everyone. Edward Trezino, a director within PWC's privacy, cybersecurity, and forensics practice. And I've spent most of my career kind of really focused on the intersection or the marriage of sorts between cybersecurity strategy, transformation, executive reporting, and analytics. I also get the pleasure of working with Brad on a pretty regular basis. I oversee kind of many engagements.
Is that a pleasure? Is that a pleasure, Edward? Or
all right, Brad.
Yeah, cool. So hey, I'm Brad Boucher, VP and Deputy CISO of Cox Communications. I've been there for about 6 years. Previously worked for Coca-Cola and spent quite a few years at Ernst & Young. So it's kind of funny that I'm sitting here with PWC today, and that Edward helps me with so many projects, kind of going against my own there, but they're super helpful.
It's all the light.
Yeah, but at Cox, I lead several security functions, including our cyber defense team and our governance, risk, and compliance team. But a big part of what I do is help educate our company and our leaders on our cybersecurity fundamentals and risks. My team leads multiple working sessions each month where we identify and discuss both security hygiene and the latest risks and trends. And to enable those discussions, we very much like to be data-driven. We don't like to guess on these things. We like to have data enabling our decisions. And so we've really been building and integrating with various tools over the years in an effort to get closer to kind of real-time data-driven security metrics. And so that's kind of what's got us here today, talking about what we've done.
Thank you, Brad and Ed. So Brad, I understand prior to AWS, you had a previous analytics solution. What learnings did you bring with you as you started this journey to replace the old solution? What were the key attributes you were looking for?
Certainly. So we definitely had a previous tool, and I think what we learned with that is that we just weren't really going to be happy with an out-of-the-box security metrics platform. And what that really meant for us is that we were going to have to really commit to a BI solution. We had some incredible team members who built a great data model, and we knew that wasn't something that we were going to throw away, but instead we needed to really double down on it. We needed to be able to leverage that model, but do it better and faster and cheaper. So to do that, we knew we wanted to have a core team that would help maintain the data model, but more importantly, we really wanted to empower our security team members through a self-service model to easily, and by easily I mean with as little code or no code, to leverage that data model and build visualizations and dashboards to give the right insights that we need for decision making about how we're trying to protect our company and our customers.
Great. And so Brad, how did you identify and explore leveraging AWS and our native BI tool to solve for your business problem?
So I have to say, we're very fortunate to work with some great partners, which is part of why I'm here today, talking with everyone. And we challenged our partners to really explore options in the market with us. And I'm sure Edward will enjoy reminiscing on that process. But we went through a couple of rounds of pitches and down selects and some demos and of course a pilot. It was a very thoughtful process for our team, but a lot of these things we rely on people to help us figure out what's latest and greatest in the market. But we were very focused on this, and we ended up with finding the right solution, what we thought for us, and that's when we aligned on AWS and QuickSight.
Brad, am I correct that this was the very first time you were using AWS or Amazon QuickSight?
Yeah, well, like most security organizations, we were using AWS like most organizations, but we were working on securing it, right? There's always some things that you've got to secure yourself. But this was our really first time being the end user. And for me, that was a really interesting experience. We got to see the power of the platform to help us solve our business problems. So, me, I guess I'm just wired being a security professional. You think about, the risks of adopting new technology. There's always a trade-off. And this really helped me kind of see why our businesses are so excited about the power of the cloud and the rapid pace at which you can make things happen.
Great. And Edward, would you share with us how you align Amazon QuickSight and AWS technology to Brad's objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Brad alluded to it. It was definitely a process, right? So when kind of Brad challenged us and said, hey, I need something new, I need something innovative, I really kind of want to push the envelope on where we are and where we want to go. We did our initial same landscape, right, review. We looked at more your traditional dashboarding metrics tools. We also looked at some of the analytics solutions that were more cybersecurity focused, but we weren't finding anything that kind of checked all the boxes or something that we would feel comfortable kind of fully going in. So what we did know we needed a solution that was going to be modern, needed to be scalable, need to be cost effective, need to be able to integrate with a wide variety of tools, have that be cybersecurity specific or just general IT tools. We needed to be able to leverage the custom data model that we had spent several years kind of refining and working on, and obviously didn't want to do that throwaway. And I need to wrap that all within a friendly UI. And if that wasn't enough of the requirements, then we also needed to then look at how are we going to manage this, right? We didn't want to build another shadow IT. We didn't want to have a large kind of team dedicated to managing a platform. So we needed a solution that cybersecurity professionals could take over, could continue to enhance and continue to improve it. And that's really where we looked at the solution. But probably where we spent an equally amount of time on is not just the solution itself, but the actual business partner that we would be going to kind of partnership with to deliver the solution. Cox, like PWC, highly values relationships. And we've built that partnership over several years. And so we're very protective as to who we bring in. And as part of that, we wanted to ensure that we had a partner who was going to be equally as invested as we were in Cox's success. So we really kind of focused real heavily on that. And it's not just one or the other. I think it had to kind of marry the two. And that marriage really came down to, okay, how do we leverage QuickSight and build an ecosystem around QuickSight to be able to meet not just the needs for now, but equally, what about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, as Cox continues to go on their journey and they continue to mature their application? What does that look like? How do we ensure that they're set up for success? And so all of that kind of centered around this whole ecosystem we built around QuickSight.
That's a really good point, and it's it's a really great mindset to think about the strategic partnership beyond just immediate deliverable and what's down the road in 2 to 3 years. So Brad, when Ed brought in AWS and QuickSight and laid out his plan to solve the problem, what was your immediate reaction?
Well, I'm not just saying this because we're on the Fireside chat today, but I was, I was immediately on board. I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. We sat through a lot of presentations, and for us and our needs, this was almost like a breath of fresh air for us. So I thought it was a significant change of what we've been looking at in other tools. And again, I mean, we had a unique set of requirements of what we were trying to do. So QuickSight was a big part of that. So was the rest of the AWS ecosystem, and the tight integration between the two was going to give us a lot of opportunities to tackle more things in the future. So we got really excited about it. Of course, once that excitement fades, you start thinking, oh, I hope we can pull this off. And I'll tell you, from the initial pitch, one of the things that I always look at is what's the partnership going to be between our technology providers and really the partnership between AWS and PWC, and the commitment to help us succeed together was very evident to me. And so when we have that, it just makes me feel good about how we're going to go down the path and deliver some value together.
Great. So, and tell us a little bit more about the deployment. How long did it take? What were some of the highlights and benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I'll start off with the fact that we knew from day one that we were already behind schedule. And what I mean by that is when we started this, we knew we had a tight deadline. Renewal for the previous platform was coming up the middle of the year. And so we basically knew from day one that we needed to go from implementation to full duplication of all the dashboards and services and integrations that we had built over basically a 2.5, 3 year period, needed to be done, rolled out, and deployed within 5 months. So from day one, we said, okay, hey, we're behind. So we hit the ground running, and we're in full we're in a groove. We've got our sprint meetings, we've got everything, our scrum meeting set up, and then 2020 strikes, right? So now throw in COVID just because we wanted to make it more fun and exciting. So now immediately everyone, right, across both PWC and Cox are adjusting to this whole working from home, and what does that mean? And then how do I manage the kids' schedules, and how do I get them in school? Luckily, I think due to a lot of various reasons I'll get to in a second, I think, we were able to overcome it pretty easily. The impact was minimal. We were still able to integrate with over 25 different target systems. We recreated over 200 different dashboards, and we deployed to hundreds of users, all within that 5 months. And the other big caveat I always have with whenever you have a compressed timetable is, well, how did the deployment go, right? That's always the caveat. And I can say it was exceptionally smooth. We had maybe a handful of tickets over several weeks after go live, and the overall resounding kind of feedback we got from end users was that this was awesome. They felt like that it was a kind of a breath of fresh air. And I have to give a lot of credit where credit's due, and I think it's a combination of obviously PwC's experience building within AWS and QuickSight in particular, and the team that we brought, our partnership with Cox, and being able to have that transparent dialogue and conversations, escalating whenever things need to be escalated, a solution that's flexible, right? That was easy to deploy, that we could modify and kind of tweak as we needed. And undoubtedly, I think there was, with any deployment, you run into snags and things, and that's really where we leaned on our partnership with AWS and said, hey, here's the client's needs, here's what we're trying to solve. How do we go about doing that? And I think that leaning in and that kind of joint PwC and AWS combination really just allowed us to be successful in this.
Yeah, Edward, if I could kind of double down on that. I mean, I think with any implementation, right? I mean, Edward will give you a nice shiny version today, but there's always, a couple of hurdles to get through, whether it's that one feature that you thought was kind of nice to have, all of a sudden becomes critical. That always happens. And to me, what happens, what I think creates really good projects and really good value is how you handle those situations, right? And so I thought it was just a great partnership between AWS and Cox and PwC to listen to what we need to do and helping adjust some timelines. I know I saw all the features there that've been rolled out in the last 6-7 months, and now I'm like, oh man, to get our feature kind of up one or two, I have no idea what political conversations had to happen to make that work, but it was just a great partnership, and we definitely that's when we have that kind of partnership, we feel really good about what we're doing and the value we're going to create.
Thanks, Brad. Oh, how has this solution now been working for you?
So, I mean, Edward talked about the lift that we were doing in that first 5 months, and then throw in a pandemic, on top of it. But our teams are in the dashboards and the metrics every day. It really is at the core of our security program. And I mean, really for us, this implementation was this is the first phase, right? This is just to get out of our old platform into some new modern technology to enable us to do more things. And I don't know how long the backlog is right now, Edward, but let's just say I think we have a lot of really high expectations about where this can go, and we're super excited about what the platform can enable us to do at the pace at which we want to move.
Thanks. And Edward, for the audience here, do you mind providing a little more insight into what was the architecture you deployed? What does that look like?
Yeah, I wish I had this, hugely complex architecture diagram that I could show you, but I'll keep it simple. And there's no reason to go with a modern solution without designing around that modern infrastructure. So, as you previously were talking about, Dorothy, we went serverless, right? We built everything. Our integrations are built leveraging Glue and Lambda. Our query logic leverages Spice, so we can get that consistency. We store our data within RDS or S3, depending upon the data type. And then we leverage QuickSight and BI for our data visualizations. It's not an overly complex design by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the beauty of it is in the simplicity. It allows for the team to focus on what they need to focus on, right? Which is, they're not worried about maintaining servers or capacity planning or is it patched and what does all that look like? Instead, they can focus on what's important, which is basically securing the environment, getting the right data to the right people, driving the right insights, and ensuring that people have the data as readily available as possible. I think so. It's not an overly complex design, but I think it's a very effective one.
And it allows you to get that speed and agility, especially in today's environment.
Oh, absolutely. It's critical.
It's critical. So, Brad, what is your vision for the solution?
Yeah, so this is our vision. Really, it's a vision we've had for a while. I think we're in the best place to deliver this vision, but it's really to have my leader and my fellow security leaders to have the right metrics on a tablet right there at their fingertips, so they can have relevant conversations with our stakeholders in the business, and those not just be guesses, those be data-driven, right? Kind of security risk conversations. So whether that's checking in on the latest vulnerability scan results, or that's seeing how many phishing messages were clicked in the last week, or presenting the status of the overall security program and the health of where we are, we want all that to be, right there at your fingertips, drill downable, right? So you can go from summary to details wherever, depending on whatever conversation you're in. And we're just in the beginning of this right now, but we're very excited about how we can get there. But that's our vision, is to enable us to kind of walk around with the metrics right there at our fingertips.
That sounds exciting. And so, Edward, you've just gone through this journey. For the audience in our session today, what advice do you have for them in implementing an AWS BI Analytics solution?
All right. Well, I don't know how much time you allowed it, Dorothy, for this question, but I'm not sure we're going to have enough. But I will try my best to be concise. And so, let me start off by saying, I think now more than ever, the ability for especially security organizations to be able to stitch together the data from disparate data sources and really try to drive in those insights is probably more critical now than we've ever seen. The landscape is incredibly disparate, and so be able to do that and stitch that data back together in an automated fashion is going to be critical for the success of security organizations kind of moving forward. But if I think about what is the number one things, or kind of what I hear, especially from the partner summit standpoint, is I think the number one misconception I hear from so many of my clients is that this sounds great. I am all on board. I love this idea. I want to do it, but I'm not sure my data is ready. I'm not sure I'm mature enough, and throw in kind of the idea. And I'll be the first one to tell you that most organizations, all their data is not perfectly clean. And so that's okay. Start somewhere. I'm a big proponent of start small. Normally there's one or two areas that you can focus on. Have that be from a compliance obligation or another internal process, but start there, build that, and kind of be able to expand. I think that's one of mine.
That's great advice.
The second one is probably know your audience. I think Brad kind of alluded to this, is really around what is the intent of every dashboard that you're building? What is the audience? What is the story you're trying to tell? How far do you want them to be able to go down that rabbit hole? Is also something that having a solution like QuickSight allows us to do. I'm a big proponent of having that macro level drill through all the way down to the micro level kind of data. I think that's incredibly powerful and empowers the dashboard owner to really kind of take and drive action and change. Let's see, on my last one, I'll probably go with the fact that right now we have such a shortage within cybersecurity talent that the idea of having our cybersecurity professionals dedicated to generating manual reports or sending out manual presentations with insights is antiquated. And we really need to focus on how do we take those routine tasks, those routine reports, and automate them in a fashion that we can send them out. And we also get greater visibility in that process as well. Because now I'm no longer doing what I like to call the email and pray, right? I'm going to send out this PowerPoint and I'm going to hope someone actually looks at it. I can now actually go in and see who's looking at it. How long are they spending? What does that look like? And be able to pull those metrics and really kind of be able to do that. So I know that wasn't quite concise, but hopefully that kind of helps.
Oh, that's great advice. And thank you for sharing the story, Brad and Edward. I think we hear this echoing through many of our customer base, that simplicity of building a solution in the ecosystem takes away a lot of the complexity, which then allows you to be fast and to be agile without compromising on security, and also at the scale that we need today. So while BI is often the last mile to deliver insights to users, it also can be the very first mile in that journey and the catalyst to modernize the cloud migration to the cloud. So thank you very much, both Ed and Brad, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.